Hello internet, and today's video is going to be a book opinion. This video is in which I tell you about a book, or I tell you my thoughts on a book. Wow, I have not done these in a long time. This is how you can tell. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say here. Anyway, the book that I'm going to be talking about is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I have read Laini Taylor previously. I read her Daughter of Smoke and Bones trilogy. I really liked it. You can watch my reviews on that. It may seem due to the reviews that I didn't like it, but I enjoyed most of it. I had a few issues, but otherwise I really like Laini Taylor's writing, so I wanted to try this book to see if I liked it more. And I did like it more than the Daughter of Smoke and Bones, yes, but there are just some things that I see are Laini Taylor things that I cannot stand. Like, stop doing this, okay? Like, I don't like when people do this. So if you haven't heard of this book or don't know what it is about, this takes place in like a fantasy sort of world, and it follows a guy named Laszlo Strange, who is also called Strange the Dreamer. Book title here. Anyway, so Laszlo grew up as an orphan in a monastery, and he used to like playing this game surrounding this place, right? This lost kingdom, basically like Atlantis, like the lost rich kingdom that no one had ever seen, but like people swore up and down is true. And one day he is playing and he realizes that the name of this place just disappears. Like, it just goes out of his way, and all that is in its place is Weep. And he's like, what is wrong? Like, why did the name all of a sudden leave me? Why can no one else remember what the real name of this place is? Why is it just referred to as Weep now? And so he spends a lot of his life, he ends up living in a library and becoming a librarian and doing all of this stuff. And one day people from Weep come and they're like, hey, we want your best and your brightest to come with us because we need some help over in Weep because we got a few issues and we need you to like help us with these issues. And Laszlo ends up getting himself on the team because he's a really good talker. Not really, but he ends up awkwardly making himself onto the team, which is like A+ introvert game. So, you know, and then it's about like him going to Weep. He ends up like finding out all this stuff about Weep. There are gods at Weep, these blue god creatures that all have like a special ability of some sort. It's all this wonderful, fantastic stuff. There's romance between Laszlo and this woman, this other god, who lives in the clouds above Weep and stuff, with all her other little god friends and everything like that. Again, I'm doing a horrible job giving you a summary, but I don't want to give you a play-by-play of the book because nobody wants that. Or maybe you do, but I don't want to do that today, so I'm not. Anyway, I liked this book because I liked the plot, right? I did find it fascinating having Laszlo very, very, very invested in this place and finally realizing that he's not just a dreamer, that this is a real place. I loved how invested he was in the place when he got there and trying to solve these problems and trying to help everybody, even though he was kind of the odd one out and he wasn't really chosen to be on this team, but kind of talked his way into it. There are a few things that I don't like about this writing and the storytelling style. I do think Laini Taylor has beautiful writing. It's very poetic. It's pretty straightforward, but has a very poetic feel to it. I do not like, though, that she does this thing that I call hard foreshadowing, where basically the author gives a really hard hint about what's going to happen, but then doesn't tell you what's going to happen and waits for that thing to happen. So basically, like in the beginning, there is this kid who is going to steal Laszlo's work and use it as his own. And Laszlo is just this lowly librarian who's been studying Weep, and everybody's been calling him a tool and stupid. And there is this alchemist who is like young and bright and beautiful, and a lot of it is expected from him. And Laszlo ends up sharing some information with this guy, and this guy runs off with the information and pretends it's his, and that really bothers me, but whatever. But to find that out, there are a lot of points where you're first just like, oh man, this guy's just, maybe him and Laszlo are going to be friends. Like, he's responsive to Laszlo, Laszlo's responsive to him. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll set aside their differences and be friends, right? Like, I'm hoping a little. And then the next sentence at the end of the paragraph is, but Laszlo didn't know that the man would betray him. And then the next chapter starts off, Laszlo was sleeping peacefully, going about his day. And I was like, wait, what about Laszlo being betrayed? I thought like maybe they could be friends, but now my hopes are dashed the moment that they appear, because you want to foreshadow so hard about what's going to happen 2 chapters from now. You can't just let me get to that point. That bothers me. Like, let me get there at my own pace. Let me get to the betrayal, what's going to happen, whatever is going to happen at my own freaking pace. Don't spoil everything for me 3 chapters beforehand, which that brings me to my another pet peeve, which is the same pet peeve, but happens even on a wider scale in this book. And this isn't even a spoiler. This isn't a spoiler. You want to know why? Because it happens, and she tells you in the very first chapter, she already spoils the ending for this book for you. She tells you what's going to happen at the end of the book, in the beginning of the book. It's the first thing you see. The bitch dies. The person Laszlo falls in love with is dead at the beginning of the book. That is the first chapter you open up to. It says, blue bitch falls from the sky, dies. What's the ending? What's the ending? Who could have possibly died at the end of this book? Which blue girl fell from the sky? Because you know it's just one of them, and you know since the beginning. So you already know how it's going to end up in the end. So why waste your time being happy for Laszlo falling in love with this girl? Because you already know she's dead. Like, why? Like, I don't like that. What is the point of me investing my time and effort into your story if you're already going to tell me everything that happened? There's no point. It frustrates me. It just makes me angry. It's just like, she's not really dead, but like, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. Everyone thinks she's dead, so that's basically the same thing. Again, that's not a spoiler, so I'm not even going to put a spoiler warning. Because, you know, you're probably looking at me like, oh, Chinoa, why did you spoil the whole book? Yeah, you see how irritated you are now? That's how irritated I felt reading this and learning that I learned about the ending at the beginning because I already saw the bitch die. So I couldn't even feel anything at the end because I was like, I already knew this was coming. What was the point? Why do authors do this? I actively refuse to read books the moment, I try to find out. The moment I start finding out these things, if I know you're an author known for this, I'm not going to read you because that's frustrating. Let me get there at my own pace. Do not spoil me for your book in your book. That's what other reviewers are for. Stop doing their job. Anyway, this book was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining. If you like Laini Taylor's writing, you'll probably like this. If you're not bothered by, authors giving you spoilers for their own freaking book, you'll like this. It's very beautifully written. It is a nice story. It has, good twists and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that happen in this book sometimes with, characters and stuff where I'm just like, why isn't there any character growth? There's a lot of stagnation, especially when it comes to, antagonistic characters, say the alchemist, and there's this other blue chick. For Laini Taylor, antagonistic characters don't really get well-roundedness. They don't really get fully developed. They just are antagonistic for the sake of being so, and sometimes it's not really easy to understand their reasoning. They're just, we need this bad guy to be bad here, and they really don't have any development a lot. That's something that bothers me as a person who loves antagonists. I don't need them to be good. I just need them to have a reason for being bad, or a non-reason for being bad. Just something where I can be like, you're not a mustache troller. You make sense. I like you. So there's I feel like all I'm doing is complaining about this book and how I don't like it. It is a good book, okay? It's a good read. It's very nice. If you think you might like this book, you're probably gonna like this book. However, it did just hit a lot of my pet peeves, which means that this book was okay, and I'm gonna give it to you. But Lord knows I'm never rereading this thing. I'm not continuing with the series, because that's just how irritated I am by some of Laini Taylor's writing habits. Will I buy this single book? Yes, because it is a good book. Will I reread this book? No, because you have bad habits as a writer, and I don't like them. Yeah, so I don't know how you're supposed to take this. I really don't. It's a good book. I thought it was a good book. It had a nice story. I liked Laszlo. He was a nice character. I liked the twists and turns. I liked watching the romance. I liked looking at Weep. I liked learning about the fantasy. It was really good. Character development sometimes is not Laini Taylor's strongest suit. Sometimes it can be a little weak, especially with the antagonist. The foreshadowing thing, the basic spoiler things that she does for her own books. Fucking don't stop doing that. But otherwise, it's a pretty solid book. And I'm probably just gonna watch somebody else's review for the second book, because I don't think like, as good as her writing is, I'm not gonna forgive her for that foreshadowy thing. I was irritated enough when it was Daughter of Smoke and Bones. That was the biggest drawback for me for that series. And to read another series and just learn that that is her method of storytelling, that just bothers me. So, good to you, Laini Taylor. Have a good life. But stop it, because that's annoying. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, call those button buttons down below, and goodbye, Internet.